welcome everyone to an evening with Matt Ryan, presented by Truist. Now tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to celebrate the greatest Falcon ever, as he will be inducted to the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor on Thursday. Now, with that title, the greatest Falcon ever, you'll probably say to yourself, man, that boy bad. Or man, that guy had to make some plays, right? Well, bad is an understatement. That man made more than plays. That man changed the franchise as a whole. So give a round of applause. Now, as I look back at Matt Ryan's career, you think about major accomplishments that he was able to have. You go back to 2008, Rookie of the Year. 2016, Offensive Player of the Year. 2016 again, MVP of the entire NFL. You also think about how he's 7th all-time in the NFL career-wise in passing yards. That's a major accomplishment. You also think about a 4-time Pro Bowler. But when you think about Falcons records, the most passing yards and the most touchdowns in Falcons history. Now, I will also say, throughout the night, you're going to get an opportunity to hear from the man himself. We're going to try to provide a lot of things for y'all. We're not going to be able to go through everything, but we're going to touch on a lot of things. But we're going to talk about Matt Ryan's career, his life as a whole, and before we bring out the man of the night, I want to show you guys a video, and it's pretty much self-explanatory why he's going to be inducted.
How bad does number 2 want it? Cutting loose, deep shot, Julio Jones, and he caught it! Touchdown Atlanta! Steps up, throws. Let's go! He'll keep it on the option and flip into the end zone. Are you kidding me? Back, gonna gun it deep. Marvin Hall running a blur. Caught it. Touchdown Atlanta. Yeah! Pressure coming. Gonna take the next shot. That's Jones, and it's caught for the Atlanta touchdown. Running loose, looking for Julio. What a catch! It's an Atlanta touchdown. Oh my goodness, another one. End zone touchdown. Looking down the seam. Gonzalez touchdown.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, stand on your feet as we welcome the greatest Falcon of all time to the stage, the one and only Matt Ryan.
Oh, thank you. It still cracks me up that you get introduced as an ESPN, analyst. You're a wide receiver, man.
Yeah, you're right.
You're my wide receiver.
You're right. You're true, man. The
Yeah.
class of '08, me and this man right here, we share so many special moments to be able to be drafted together, go through any and everything together, and see you as a man grow. But tonight's your night. And I want to ask you this question.
Hold on, before we get to my night, let's everybody give a round of applause for Harry Douglas, who just went into the Ring of Honor at the University of Louisville. I knew it, go U of L. All right, let's give you your flowers too.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
But when you got that phone call that you will go into the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor, talk us through your emotions and how that made you feel.
They tricked me. I had no idea, right? And so Raheem called me and he said, hey, would you come up and talk to the team? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. What do you want me to talk about? And he kind of filled me in on what they're, what they had been talking about during the offseason, kind of what they're trying to establish with the culture. And then he said, and I'd love for you to talk about what it means to be a Falcon. And I was like, well, that's kind of heavy, it's been, most of my adult life has been, that of trying to be the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. And so anyhow, I give this speech, and then at the end of it, they surprised me with this kind of video and like all this stuff at the end, and I had no idea, but it was a special way to get it from a coach that we were close to. You know, I was with Raheem for 6 years in Atlanta and spent a lot of time with him. So that was how I found out, and I was kind of stunned. You know, I really was just so excited to be back in the building and being around the guys, and you know, so just kind of overcome with emotion, and then call my wife, who knew. You know, she knew the whole thing was set up, and I was like, you could have given me at least a bit of a heads up. You know, I'm on this video dropping F-bombs and firing at the team and doing all these things, and I'm like, well, I might have been a little more, you know, buttoned up had I known what was coming afterwards. But it was a ton of fun that day up at the facility.
Man, I'm proud of you. It's definitely deserved. I don't think it could happen to a better person. What you've been able to display from top to bottom, not just on the field, but also off the field, man. Y'all give them another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now we get into the juicy stuff, y'all. We're going to talk about Matt Ryan's career, but we're also going to talk about his life as a whole. And I want to start back, man. You know, you grew up in Philly.
Yeah, well,
Now,
I grew up outside of Philly.
Well, you grew up outside of Philly, but I would say this, though. You grew up outside of Philly, around Philly. It doesn't matter. That's how I knew Matt Ryan was going to be a tough SOB. And
look at this shirt my dad is wearing. I got the bowl cut. This is
nice little shag in the front, too.
Ah, man, I think we've all aged well.
So I want you to tell everyone, what was it like growing up in a Ryan household?
I mean, it was great. You know, I think back to it, you know, my parents were always involved in whatever we were doing, but they also gave us our space, you know, to kind of develop in whatever way we wanted to. And I was so fortunate. My sister was the oldest. I have an older brother, Mike, and a younger brother, John. And really, I feel like you and I were talking about it backstage, just about brothers, right? And that relationship that you have, and I've got young boys. But my older brother, for me, growing up, was my hero. He was who I wanted to be. You know, he was 4 years older than me. And so, like, I just tried to be him, you know, watching him, whether it was playing football or basketball or baseball or how he, you know, was with his friends or whatever. I just try to model myself after my brother Mike. And so in our household, it was a lot of, you know, fighting like siblings do all the time.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, throwing basketballs at each other when you're, you know, you're all hot or whatever. But it was competitive, it was fun, it was loving, and I was really fortunate to, you know, you don't know. You come into this world, you have no idea who you're going to be surrounded by, and I was really lucky that my introduction to the world was this group right here.
That's pretty cool, man. Now, you go to Penn Charter High School in Philadelphia, where you played basketball, baseball, football, was a captain in all three sports. And I want to ask you this, because being a multi-sport player, how did you kind of decipher between football versus the rest of them?
I mean, basketball was my favorite sport, you know, by far. Growing up, I loved playing basketball. But I think my skill set kind of steered me towards football a little bit more than.
Doesn't look like a dunker to me, but you can shoot it. Nice form.
Come on, man, I can get above the rim.
Nice form.
I can get above the rim. Yeah, no, I could shoot it a little bit, play some defense, and yeah, whatever. But I was, you know, able to do that all the way through high school, which, you know, I'll beat on the drum that I think that's so important for kids. And I know the world has changed in a lot of ways where we specialize probably earlier than, you know, ever before. And I wish, you know, kids would have that opportunity to play all these different sports, because I honestly believe I turned into the quarterback I was because I played basketball and because I played baseball, and I did all of those different things and kind of acquired this level of athleticism that you know so well about. Yep. I was an athlete, Harry. I was an athlete out on that field.
Well, you had to be to play that long in the NFL.
Sneaky athletic.
That's all that matters.
No, so I love playing all those sports growing up, and you know, just probably around my sophomore or junior year of high school, I started getting these letters from colleges, and we were a triple option high school team. So I don't know how much people know about football. Yeah, exactly.
We got to dial this back a little bit. So, you know, 170 pounds, 3-star recruit, triple option quarterback. Talk everybody through that part of it.
Yeah, I don't know how I got any offers, to be honest with you, from what I put on tape, but I remember going to a couple of camps, you know, with my dad or whatever, and doing these kind of like showcases or throwing during those. And after doing them, I started to get these offers. And I was probably not the best, scheme fit for that triple option, and was glad when I got to Boston College and we didn't do it anymore. But yeah, it was good. It was fun.
So when it comes to the quarterback position, how did that come about? Was it off the rip that, you know what, Dad, I want to play quarterback, or is it something that was talked about in the household?
No, I mean, I started playing football in second grade, so I played, shout out to the Downingtown Young Whippets. That was our youth organization that I played for. So I started out in second grade. I played like tight end, I played defensive end, I played fullback, but that was kind of my story until seventh grade. And we had a coach, Dan Driscoll, was our head coach when I was in seventh grade. And I'll never forget, kind of before practice, it was like the first week of training camp. It was before practice, and we were just messing around throwing the ball like you do, 20 minutes before practice is going to start. He was like, whoa. He's like, you're gonna play quarterback this year. And I was like, all right, that's awesome. And so kind of switched. Really had, no like grand plans to make that switch, but it's amazing how my life changed, really in a seventh grade, Pop Warner football practice, just messing around beforehand.
Well, I know all these people are thankful that you played quarterback, and especially I'm thankful that you played quarterback.
Thank you, thank you.
Now I want to talk about your high school football coach, Brian McCluskey. He described the high school Matt Ryan as very humble, cool, calm, and collected, smart, intelligent, a fierce competitor. I want you to touch on, how important was it to be able to have that strong-minded head coach as you was jump-starting your career at the quarterback position?
I mean, I loved Brian. Coach McCluskey was also my math teacher for 2 of my 4 years in high school and got me through algebra and geometry.
Had a baby coach.
Yeah, coach took care of me there. But he was incredible, and he was tough. He was old school and tough and demanding. But also had this belief in me and kind of maybe saw things that were maybe not what I saw, and pushed me in a direction to try and be the best that I could. And I'm incredibly grateful for Coach McCluskey and all that he did for me.
Well, there's nothing like having a coach that has the ability to see things in you that you probably don't see in yourself. And Matt, we're going to have a couple surprises throughout the night. Oh, no. I want everyone to give a round of applause to Matt's high school head coach who's here tonight, Coach Brian McCluskey.
Love you, bro. Oh, my God. I love you so much.
Oh, my goodness.
Harry, how you doing,
I'm
buddy?
doing well.
Good to see you.
as well.
So, Coach, let's talk about why we were running the triple option.
Let's talk about it, Matt. Actually, I want to explain this.
We have some questions, Coach.
It's worth an explanation, Harry.
No, but I want to ask you, the first thing I want to ask you, Coach, being able to coach Matt Ryan, as you're going back to those days, what do you remember the most?
Oh, I mean, you read the description of a quote that I maybe had given a few years back. What I'm most impressed about was Matt's leadership. I don't know that he realizes this, but, when he started as a sophomore, he started to develop a culture at our school. And I think he didn't realize as he started to grow, became junior and senior, that kids were following him. We went an Interact championship for the first time in a bit, Matt's senior year, and then we followed that up with 2 more. And that's the only reason why that happens is because Matt creates a culture at our place through his leadership qualities that people our kids, our players are saying, hey, we got a kid who is unbelievable talent, and we got to do the same thing. So we were lucky in a way that we won 3 in a row we won 2 in a row after he left.
They got rid of the dead weight, man. They could run that thing again. Yeah,
I got to explain the triple option, because it's funny because we talk about this for years. We're a small school, folks. I mean, Matt went to a school with only 400 students in the upper school, about 200 boys. So when you're trying to compete against schools that were bigger than us, that are in our league, you've got to find ways to finesse people. And one of those ways was to be able to run the option so that we didn't have to block the big people. right? Because our big people were not very big compared to some of the other big
see
people.
it right here. Colin Hitchler snapping me the
So
ball
that
right
was
here
our
in high
center.
school. And Colin wrestled at like 175 or
That's
172,
right.
whatever
That's
it was.
right. That's right.
That was not great.
By the way, he's co-defensive coordinator at Alabama. Sorry, folks, I don't know about you. But
Wrong room.
But now the reality is we ran a triple
strike
option
one, coach.
because we had to finesse people. We just weren't, big enough to be able to, go head to head.
I was all right, though.
And besides, you
I
were
was
awesome.
all right running
Oh, wait a
it.
minute.
I was okay.
If we had some film, which I did share, I don't know if you're going to run any
So
film.
Matt, I want to ask
But-
you,
but-
though, like, back as you think about your high school days, what was Coach able to provide for you that you know that you were able to use moving forward?
He was more than a coach or a teacher. It was a mentor for me of navigating all of these different things that were coming up, and at an age where you need some help, right? We all need help at every stage, but particularly,
Sure.
14 to 18 years old of kind of growing into who you're going to become as a man. I think he was so helpful in that space. I think the other thing that impacts me so much is he gave me this he used to do it for Penn Charter captains there. There was a man in the glass, the man in the mirror. And he gave me this plaque when I was a captain of the team, I think maybe my senior year.
Was.
And I'll never forget seeing that and reading that poem. And one of those things that just kind of always hit me throughout my life is every time you look in the glass, the only thing that matters is who you see back. And that was him. That was from him, and I'll never forget that. And it's something that I think about, even to this day.
Coach, I'll give you one last word. As you sit beside Matt Ryan and you think about all the things he's been able to do up until this point, what do you want to tell him?
I am most proud of what you're doing in the community, Matt. Your ATL Foundation and your Believe and Achieve Foundation. I can't be more proud of you and Sarah and what you're doing in the community to help the youth. I mean, forget all the accolades and great things that you've done as a football player. I'm very proud of that, and I love you. But what you're doing for the community is special.
I can't believe
It's special,
he's
dude.
sitting
It's special.
there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all give Coach another round of applause.
Oh, man. I got mics dropping.
Pretty cool, huh?
You got me.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is coming.
Yep. You just stay ready. You stay ready, you
Stay
don't have
ready.
to get ready, Matt.
Willie Moe,
That's right.
always ready.
So I do want to touch on the recruiting process.
Okay.
Because we definitely can relate when it comes to that. I wasn't the biggest. I went to college at 5'9", about 125 pounds.
So,
You weren't the biggest. You wasn't highly recruited.
no.
You were a 3-star recruit. You get to Boston College and you redshirt your first year. A lot of times, a lot of people may see the glory, but they don't understand the story that allowed you to get to where you are today. You redshirted your first year. You're in a quarterback competition going into your second year. How did those years prepare you for when you became a starter?
I mean, it was everything to me. Like, I got to Boston College and realized I wasn't even close to good enough, to be able to be out there on the field, right? Physically, I needed to grow. I needed to be in the weight room and develop. I needed to get faster. I needed to learn, protections and just kind of schemes and defenses and all of these different things. Like, I needed coaching. I needed development. And kind of in that first year of getting that, was really helpful. And then my second year, I was the backup to Paul Peterson, who was awesome, right? Completely different player than I was. He would run around and scramble and make these plays, but like I learned from him just like how calm he was, like during the week of getting ready. So like watching him was really beneficial for me. And then I go into my redshirt sophomore year and I get beat out in training camp to Quentin Porter, who was an awesome player, right? 6'5", like a 4'5", 4'6" guy, which I was not, and a good thrower. But that was hard because I felt like I felt like I had a really good training camp that year at school and felt like I deserved to play, and the coaches just didn't feel the same way. And then my sophomore year of college, he gets hurt. He hurts his ankle against Florida State, and I come back in and play. And my first start on the road is at Clemson. We won. I mean, so it's okay.
Let them know, Deuce.
That's right. It's okay.
Everyone's
we
in here like,
were 3-0
oh.
against Clemson when I was at school.
Go out
so,
there and beat the hell out of Clemson.
Yeah, we're
That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Deuce.
But so we play down there, and I play the next week, and then he comes back from his injury, and I go back to the bench. And I'm like, that was a blow. And so then a couple weeks later, Quentin, who I, still is a friend and a great guy, but Quentin gets benched in the fourth quarter. I get tossed in against Wake Forest, and we're down 9 or 10 or something like that, and I end up throwing 2 touchdown passes in the last 4 minutes of that game, and we win. So now I'm going home, and I'm like, I'm definitely starting next week. Like, there's no chance, right? I still go back to the bench, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what else do I got to do? Long story short, another week goes by, and we go down to North Carolina. Same thing happens. He gets benched in the fourth quarter, and I come in, and I throw a touchdown pass, get us back into the game. We end up falling short at the end of the game, but I finally, that next week, was told I was going to be the guy, the starter, going against NC State. And for me, I think that struggle during that time, right, and having to go earn it, not once, not twice, but like 3 or 4 times, was really, really impactful for me when I got to be the guy, understanding that I'm never going to let that go. And that was really the mindset that I had at Boston College, was that no matter what I'm going through, I'm going to find a way to be productive on the field, because I know how good the guys are behind me and how hungry they are for it. I'm never going to give you a chance. And that was really the mindset I had from that point forward until I finished up.
What I love about that is, sometimes through life, y'all, we're going to face that adversity, but you can't run from it. At some point, it's going to catch up to you if you continuously run from it. You stayed there, you fought it out, you worked hard, you became the starting quarterback. The rest is history. Now, the best thing that ever happened to your life didn't happen on the football field now, Matt. I'm just going to sit here and tell you right now. That happened off the football field.
I know.
And I want to talk about
I'm well aware.
I want to talk about, at the time, how did Sarah Marshall come into your life?
Yeah, Sarah Marshall. So there we are. We met as freshmen at Boston College. We were in the same class at BC, so we came in 2003. And Sarah was on the basketball team. She was point guard on the basketball team at BC. And so at the time at BC, all of the sports were in the same building. It was awesome. We didn't have these unbelievable facilities. So we didn't have our separate football facilities. So we were in with the baseball team, with the hockey team, with the women's basketball team, which I'm thankful for. But I got to meet her.
But let me say this. God might not come when you want him to, but he's going to always be on time, man.
He's on time. He was on time. That's for sure. So we met kind of through that space. And then we're friends. And she was better friends with some of my friends, and then we got to know each other better, and then started dating, in our sophomore year, and never looked back. So best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
So 2007 was an amazing year for you as an individual, also team-wise. You look at Boston College, the highest you guys were ranked, were second in the country.
That's
but
right.
I also think that's when the name Matty Ice started to come in hand, and it was a Virginia Tech game.
Oh, yeah.
In particular. Y'all check this video out.
I think they need to begin to think about field goal position. We get a chance here to force overtime.
10 to 12 yards is what you're looking for right now if you're Matt Ryan.
Plenty of time. Cannot take a sack here. Ryan will fire.
Oh,
the end zone. Wide open for a touchdown is Callender. And Lane Stadium goes silent with the 11 seconds to play.
That is the moment, in my opinion, when Matty Ice got introduced to the country.
Yeah.
To the world. Talk about that moment in that play.
Well, what was so cool at that time is Thursday night game. And Thursday night college football used to be like the equivalent of Monday night football in the NFL.
It was the prime time.
Right?
It was the thing to do.
It was it. The other thing is Virginia Tech, if people remember back at that time, was unbelievable on Thursday nights. They didn't lose, right? They had this incredible record on Thursday night. And so we went down there And I think we were number 2. I think we were number 2 in the country. I can't remember what we were at that time, but we were ranked pretty highly, and got in this crazy game where it was raining for like literally the first 3.5 quarters, and then you said God's always on time. It stopped raining with about 5 minutes left to go. We were down 10-0, and we could start throwing that ball again. And next thing we know, 14 points later, we win that game. But it was wild to be at Boston College and kind of see the energy that was coming into that program. But that was a big night, man. It's really one of the things, people stop me all the time. Here we are almost 20 years later. And they're like, man, I remember that throw you had against Virginia Tech. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. It was pretty cool. So it was.
I was definitely in college at the same time.
Yeah.
And we used to host, wide receiver night on Thursday.
Yeah.
So we was definitely
You were watching.
at my house watching that, cooking chicken wings,
Playing some cards.
playing some cards,
Playing
definitely
some
playing
Tom.
some cards. Probably using words I shouldn't be using.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those nights. So
Okay.
it was pretty awesome, man, to be able to see you in that moment, in one of the biggest moments, to be able to make that play.
Well, I remember watching you guys that year too, because as you're starting to, you're hitting that senior year, you understand I was probably going to get drafted. Your guys' quarterback, Brian Brom, was like all world, and so he was the guy I would always have on my sheet. Like, I want to take that dude down, man, Brian Brom. But yeah, we would watch Louisville all the time.
It's crazy that you bring that up because now we're going to transition.
Brian
to
Brom's
2008.
coming out?
No. Oh, no, he's not coming out. So I will tell y'all a funny story. Mike Smith is in the building, Coach Malarkey, Thomas Dimitroff is in the building. So that year, they came to work out Brian Brom. And I'm literally halfway to Atlanta. I'm in Nashville. And Brian calls me. He was like, hey, man, I need you to come catch for me. And I was like, Brian, I'm almost to Atlanta. I'm halfway up to Atlanta. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to turn around. Was not the best day for Brian. I'm going to be honest with you guys. So the Falcons chose the right guy. I love Brian. I love you more. The Falcons chose the right guy.
But they got to see you that day.
So, no lie, and Coach Malarkey can attest to this. I literally got drafted because of that workout I turned back around to do. Yep. So that's God again.
No doubt.
Talking about.
No doubt.
There you go, baby. You calm down out there, Unc. So let's talk about 2008, man. You're in a spot where you know you're going to get drafted high. Talk about that draft process for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild because, I didn't come out of high school thinking like, I'm going to get drafted. Like, I was like, I would love to play in college. That was really more my mindset. And then it happened fast. I don't know how it was for you, but for me, all of this stuff in college happened very quickly. And I remember just kind of finishing up that season and then it really getting like, I don't know, I think I'm going to go in the top 5. I might go in the top 10. I might, I didn't know. And then really, meeting with the teams, meeting with Atlanta, meeting with the Jets, meeting with Kansas City, meeting with Baltimore. You have no idea how it's going to shake out. And you get to meet all of these people that you've seen on TV, that you've just heard about. And it's really kind of an overwhelming, 3 or 4 months from when you finish up and then the, combine comes up and then draft comes up. But for me, it was a whirlwind. And I just remember being in New York City in April and the call coming in as I was sitting with my family that, here it is, coming to Atlanta. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. And then I got here and I was like, oh man, we got a lot of work to do. It's just starting. Now it gets real. So it was an awesome process.
So throughout that entire process, Mr. Blank, who's the owner of the team, was able to have a dinner with you up in Boston. Oh, man.
All right, so
That's a pretty cool picture.
That's an awesome picture. He's giving me a side eye or something. This is the night I signed my first contract. So I think he was wondering why we paid him so much. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. What's funny about this picture is, so I had just got down here. We were all staying up at Lake Lanier. Remember they put us up. You might not have been because you had family down
That's a story
here.
for another day now. We're
Okay.
going to talk about that too at some point.
So we're all staying up at Lake Lanier, and I only have one suitcase of clothes with me. I've got like gym shorts and t-shirts, and like hoodies. That's it. And so our like number 2 of PR at that time was Ted Cruz.
TC?
And Ted, you know, like I get a call from my agent that the deal is getting done and we're going to sign it tonight. And Ted calls me and he's like, hey man, grab your suit. We're going down to Mr. Blank's family office and we're going to sign this contract. And I was like, Ted, I only got shorts and a t-shirt, man. Like, what do we do? He's like, all right, we're about the same size. You're going to toss on my suit. So that suit you see right there,
Wow.
and the shirt and tie is all Ted Cruz's. It's all Ted Cruz's, which is pretty crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Which is pretty wild. So it's not quite as tailored as well as Mr. Blank's right there.
So throughout this draft process, Mr. Blank, he comes up to Boston,
Yep.
brings the whole contingent, have a nice dinner with you, and he's on record saying that, you know, your confidence, the way you carry yourself, how cerebral you are, your whole persona, he felt sold in that moment. Did you have any indication that the Falcons were going to take you if you were available at number 3?
No, I wish he would have told me that night. I would have, you know, it would have, you know, made things easier. But no, I mean, I didn't. You know, and I remember that dinner. We were at the Capitol Grill in just right by Boston College in Chestnut Hill in Massachusetts, and kind of sitting around. And you know, it's Mike Mularkey's there, Mike Smith is there, Thomas Dimitroff is there, and we're just talking. And I was nervous. I mean, you know, you sat in those meetings like. I was nervous. I was trying to be polite and respectful and just as much as I could be myself. But, you know, it turned out to be a great dinner. And then we threw the next day. I remember Smitty coming into Boston College's locker room right there. And he's like, Matty Ice, you ready to throw? And I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready, coach. I'm ready. And so, yeah, it was awesome that first meeting with them. But I didn't really know. You know, you never know how it's going to shake out on draft day. And was in New York, and Tom Condon told me, who was my agent, he told me, you know, I think you're going to go 3, you know, we'll see what happens, and sure enough, I did, so it was awesome.
So I would like to say to Mr. Blank, Coach Smith, Thomas Dimitroff, Mike Mularkey, you sure did it with this one. You did it with this one. Now let's get into the massive expectations, because now you're coming into a franchise, you know, that wasn't in the greatest light, right? Mm-hmm. There were some things that previously happened and was looking for a new face along with, you know, overhaul. Mm-hmm. Talk about those expectations coming into being a rookie quarterback. You got a lot of veterans on the team.
Yeah.
And you have to produce early on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just naive enough, you know, at 23, or I got drafted at 22, then 23 being my rookie season.
Well, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Just naive enough to think that, no, you know what, I am good enough, you know, and I truly believe that. You know, but you mentioned it. The year before was the year before. There were a lot of good players, like a lot of really good players in that locker room when we got there. And to me, yeah, you can clap for that. Like, look at that huddle, right? You got Jarius Norwood, Tyson Clabo, nasty Tyson Clabo, right? And just, you keep going down that line. There were so many talented players. But for me, you know, I always felt like comfortable with pressure, you know, for whatever reason. I feel like throughout my entire life, I was comfortable with expectation, with pressure, with whatever. And I actually felt like I was my best when there was that. And so, you know, it was never overwhelming for me, or I never felt overwhelmed by the situation. And I think a lot of that is in part due to how the organization structured things around me. You know, during that time of Smitty, you know, being so good and so intentional about not putting too much on me too early, right? Not asking you to do too much. Everybody talks about, you know, their first pass was a 62-yard touchdown, and that was awesome, you know. And it was really cool. I only completed like 9 more passes the rest of the day, you know, and we might have only had, you know, 13 attempts, whatever it was on the day. So there was not there was not this overwhelming amount of pressure to just solely go out there and perform. So I think that was incredibly helpful. I think the PR staff, from kind of limiting the number of things that I was doing, I thought was incredibly helpful. And then the support staff at home, right? Like Sarah making the move down to Atlanta and being there for you, my family coming down and being around. I think all of those things to me, helped during that first year.
I also would say this, and we see a lot of young quarterbacks now in the NFL who's drafted high, coming into an organization, and you have those expectations from a performance standpoint that you need to live up to, but also you got to gain the respect in the locker room. And we had a locker room full of veteran players,
no doubt,
that were, number one, very prideful in a good way,
yeah,
but not scared to speak their mind, which also I thought was a great thing, and that's another reason why we were so good. Talk about some of the things that you knew you had to do to gain the respect of your teammates.
Yeah, it was like show up, shut up, and keep up. I mean, that to me,
the life of a rookie, ladies and gentlemen.
100%. It's get in there, work hard, let your work and your performance speak for itself, and then kind of observe what the veterans are doing, how they talk, how they approach certain things. And that's kind of how I always compartmentalized it. But when it was time to be on the grass and we were in the huddle, make no mistake, there was one guy in charge, right? And so that's me, yes, that was me. But that is how I felt, right? And so I didn't try to handle myself in any other way than being myself in the locker room, but I was also showed restraint in terms of being vocal, but I did feel like when it was time to get on the field, you need to let them know, who was in charge. But I'll never forget, so that first week we beat Detroit in week 1, and then we go to Tampa the next week. And there was like one of those Tampa rainstorms to start the game. And I think we threw a screen on like our first, or a storm like a bubble from the gun. I can't remember what it was, maybe from under center. And I threw a pick on the first play on a bubble. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. First half, I think my stats were like 3 of 17 passing. It was bad. We were down. And I will never forget, Lawyer Malloy undressed me on the sideline. Like, undressed me about how you can't be like that in this league. You can't be one thing one week and one thing the next week. And I was like, man, you're right. Went in at halftime. We come back out. And I felt like I played pretty well in the second half. We got back into that ball game. We ended up losing, but we battled. We played hard. We got back into that ball game and gave ourselves a chance. At the end, fell a little bit short. And I'll never forget him coming up to me after that game and being like, hey, that's how you respond in the second half. And for me, it was like, that meant so much to me. It's the little things along the way, but that meant so much to me from a guy, that had been at the highest, been in different organizations that have won championships, to say, be able to call you out, but then also be able to say, I like the way you fought. And I felt like that was, empowering for me.
Everybody respected Lawyer Malloy, and he had a lot of clout in that locker room. My rookie season, we had a run-in too. First day of Matt, so I'll be damned. If it wasn't Matt and me, he got both of us, didn't he?
He got both of us, man.
So I want to go back to our very first game that year, or your first touchdown pass, September 7th. That was the first game, right? Yeah, that was the first game.
First game, yeah.
Yeah, first game. September 7th, 2008.
Yep.
You're about to be a starting quarterback on an NFL team. Your dreams are coming true. You're a rookie quarterback. Take us through the mindset of Matt Ryan.
I mean, I was so nervous, going into that first game. I remember on Friday afternoons, Mike Mularkey and I would meet up in his office after practice, and we'd go through some of the plays that I liked on the call sheet, and we'd talk about what we were going to call in the openers. And I remember sitting up in his office and being like, Mike, I'm kind of a slow starter, so if you could just find me a completion on the first play, that would be awesome, right? Like just flat route or something like that. And he's like, perfect. We're going to go with Comet Sync, which is curl flat for us. It's like day one install. It's like one of the first concepts you ever learn as a young kid playing football, right? You read the curl flat defender. If he squeezes it, you throw it to the flat. If he's not there, you throw a curl. I can complete that one. He's like, and Mike was so detail oriented. He's like, I've broken down all the numbers. If we get it after a first down, they're like 95% quarters coverage. The only other thing they might play is like 3-week, where they rotate this safety down. If so, you don't even have to worry about throwing the skinny post. Just stick on the curl flat side. But our read was, if we get that, alert the skinny post.
Free access.
Right, and so we run the ball twice. Michael Turner, I think he had 300 yards rushing that day. So, yeah, clap for that. That was helpful. But anyhow, I remember having that conversation with Mike on Friday afternoon. And then we run the ball, we get our first down, and I'm under center with 0 strong 62 Comet Sync called. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right, they're starting in a quarter shell. Oh, my God, he's rotating down. This is 3-week. And I remember thinking in my head, F it. I'm throwing the skinny post. 5 plant, hit that back foot. Mike Jenkins was right where he was supposed to be. He took it the rest of the way. It was awesome. But I remember that in my head, just being like, you know what? I'm going to let it rip.
It's about that time.
I'm going to let it rip. I'm going to let it rip.
You talked about it. Let's watch it.
Oh,
Today at the Georgia Dome, the Atlanta Falcons start their 44th season in the NFL, fresh and new. A new rookie quarterback in Matt Ryan and a new head coach in Mike Smith. Ryan going to throw first professional pass. Caught! Jenkins, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. He lives in Atlanta. His first professional pass is a 62-yard strike to Michael Jenkins. That's the way you throw your first pass. That's how you do it. Touchdown.
When you see Jink running into the end zone, what's going through your mind, Matt?
So before the game, Chris Redmond was our backup quarterback, another Louisville guy.
Redbird.
Yeah, the Redbird. He was, So Red is sitting there telling me, he's like, hey, man, don't celebrate too much, after you throw a touchdown or something today. He's like, just trust me, it's going to wear you out. Just like take a deep breath, it's all good. So when it happened on the first play, I was going nuts, man. I'm running down there or whatever. And I get to the sideline, Red was like, yeah, you made the right decision, dude. First pass, first touchdown, like, go for it. But I do remember just running down there and screaming and jumping on, like, Todd McClure and Tyson Claybo and Harvey Dahl and Justin Blaylock and, Sam Baker, that whole crew that was up front.
That's right.
And being fired up with those guys. But it was amazing, man. And honestly, it feels like we just played that game.
Know.
I feel like we played that game 2 days ago, so it goes by quickly.
Time flies when you're having fun. Our rookie season in.
Yeah.
We make the playoffs. You get Rookie of the Year. What did you learn in year one that helped you out along the way?
Well, number one, I had great teammates around me, and I came into it, and you talk about Jenk. I mean, I remember, like, the first day of practice watching Roddy White run and being like, I've never thrown to a wide receiver like this, right? Like I've never thrown with a guy like this. But I really learned in that rookie season that you have to rely on your teammates in the NFL. You are dependent on the guys that are around you. You are dependent on the coaching staff. You are not doing this in a vacuum. And I think that was one of the things, particularly with how we played as a team that year, that was a great lesson for me early on to kind of learn, you know what, we got to win as a team. And that team in 08 was one of the most fun and one of the most complete teams I ever played on.
It was definitely it was a ride, y'all. And to be able to see you, Matt, and I want to back up a little bit to training camp, Matt. And yet we used to have to stay at these dorms in the back. And he's probably going to get mad at me for saying this. But, we always believed in one band, one sound. We were going to do things in unison, and we were going to move together, being drafted together. And I remember me, Matt, and Sam Baker, we had already had our places, right? And at this time, the vets got to go home, and we wanted to go home as well.
Sorry about this, Smitty.
Sorry, Smitty. We love you. So we say to ourselves, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it together. So the next morning, they probably seen footprints walking across the field because me and my partner in crime right here, we went home and stayed at our homes. I'll go back to
Oh, man. I learned from my older brother, just don't get caught.
And every decision we made together, man. And going all the way back to, the little classes we used to have.
Oh, yeah. Falcon
Dr.
U.
Shuttle.
Oh, yeah.
Good job,
Good job.
Good job, good job.
G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job. Oh, yeah.
We did everything together.
Oh, man.
So now I'm going to jump back to 2010, 2011. We have very successful seasons. You as an individual as well, we make the playoffs. Well, actually 3 of your first 4 years we make the playoffs. But we have those early exits again, right? So when you look at the quarterback position, a lot of people, give that position a lot of praise when things are going right. But when things aren't going right, the quarterback gets a lot of the blame as well. So I want you to talk to where's your headspace at this moment as we're building something great in Atlanta?
Sure.
But we're not having that postseason success.
It's hard because, and Smitty told me this early on in my career. He said, we are in this together, right? We are attached at the hip because wins and losses are attached to 2 people's name in the building, the head coach and the quarterback. And that's not really right because so many other people impact it. Yep. But that's also the reality of it. Yep. And so I always felt like you needed to be able to handle that, right? You need to be able to handle it when the praise was coming in, and you needed to be able to handle it when they were telling you can't win in the playoffs, right? You have to be able to face the noise during those times. And so I think my mindset at that point, 2010, we play the Packers, and it's like, man, we ran into a buzzsaw. They were unbelievable the night we played them. And sometimes that happens, right? If we played those guys 10 times, I'd take us 5 out of those.
And we
5 out of those times. We beat them earlier in the year.
Yep.
But it was not to be that night. And then 2011, and the Packers go on to win that Super Bowl. And then 2011, we go up and we play the Giants. It was not the best afternoon. It was not the best afternoon. But again, we lose and they go on to win the Super Bowl. And so to me, man, I thought it made us hungrier. And it made me hungrier. And it made us harder as a team, right? More calloused to be able to go out there and have the mental resiliency that you needed to have in order to win in November, December, and January. And sometimes it takes time, and it takes stubbing your toe along the way to find where you want to go. And I think back to some of those years and how much tougher it made me individually and mentally.
I would say, you mentioned it, Matt. Like it made us closer together as a football team. It did make us more determined because we knew we weren't far off.
No.
We just had to get over that hump. Now, that hump came in 2012.
Yes.
And we ended up playing Seattle, in which I felt like we played Seattle like so much during the span that we were in Atlanta.
During that stretch of my career, I hated Seattle.
And we played them all the time.
Seattle, right? We played them all the time. We were kind of ascending at the same time,
yep.
And so playing them was always tough. Playing out there was tough, although we had good success. We had good success against them. And then we get into that playoff game at home, right? And jump out to that lead, and then they come back. And I think had we not gone through the situations that we had gone through as a team prior to that, I don't think we would have been ready for the situations that we were at the end of that game, and this no flinch mentality and not being scared of the moment. And really getting to the point too of like, I don't care what the outside people are saying about us. I know what I got in Harry Douglas. I know what I've got in Roddy White. I know what I've got in the 5 guys up front. I know what I got in my back in Michael Turner. I know what my defense is going to do. I know how hard these guys work. I don't care what anybody else says. And I think we were finally at that point as a team at around that time to say, you know what, screw it, let's go for it.
That year was so much fun. I think we started the year, 8-0? Started the year 8-0 that year in 2012. We get to the playoffs, up big in the game, down 1 with 25 seconds. Let's just take a look at what happens after that.
The middle of the field should they choose, otherwise you're looking at deep outside routes. steps up, throws, and the catch.
Who's that?
By Harry Douglas and into the 48-yard line. Ryan. Caught by Gonzalez. Well within field goal range now. One timeout left. Ryan trying to get him to the line of scrimmage. Nope, they're going to call timeout.
Foster the hold, the kick, away, and it is good for Matt Bryant! With 8 seconds left, Matt Bryant has kicked a 49-yard field goal.
Why do we live this way, Wes?
And the Atlanta Falcons move on to next Sunday's NFC title game in a major league dramatic fashion.
Wow,
You
Wes.
can watch a lot of games for a long time and never see something like this, David.
Literally, the loudest I've ever heard the Georgia Dome up until that point,
Yeah, up until that point.
2012. Talk through those two plays for us.
Yeah, I mean, let's give Dave Archer a shout out too. His line in there is so good. Why do we live this way, Wes? Which is like, it's so good. But yeah, I mean, that play, we're hitting you on the sail route, right? And you took one for the team, right? In that lower part of the rib cage.
And we had
in the
swap,
back.
because normally Tony was the guy that ran that sail route, and I had the out route, but we knew Seattle.
Correct. So
they
we
was
put
gonna-
Tony on the low piece of cheese,
Yep.
right? And so
And the dummy bit the cheese.
he bit the cheese, right? He bit the cheese.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I fully was expecting to not get that. But when they drove on Tony on the low route, having that space to kind of fire that thing and try and stop you with the throw a little bit too, because coming down on the outside, when we hit that first one, it was like, okay, to me, the game was over at that point, right? We just needed one to get going. But I don't know about you, but like we had won so many games that kind of way, really in our first 4 or 5 years. We used to say to each other in the huddle, like when we were getting ready to go, this is what we do.
Let's go.
This is what we do, right? And so we would go out there and execute. And then the second one, the play to Tony Gonzalez, gun trips right, I think it was deep 68 shell.
Yep.
That's how we called it at that time. And really it was just, a run down and stop. And I'll put it on the outside shoulder, you use your length. And Tony was so good at that. But two kind of staple plays for us. And it basically just comes down to guys making plays, in those type of situations. And then Money Matt, man. Matt Bryant going out there, and we felt like, yeah. If we got to the 35-yard line, the game was over.
It was a wrap.
It was over. And so that was always the thing. You talked to Smitty right before, what's our yard to gain? He said, get it to the 35, Matt, I'll knock it in. And that was the case. So that was fun.
Bro, I thought
A
it
ton of
was
fun.
just awesome, though, because like you mentioned, and y'all, we're not exaggerating. When I mean we had multiple moments throughout those first 4 or 5 years where that type of moment arose.
Yeah.
And we literally didn't blink an eye, and it was second nature. And it wasn't, we hope we can go down and get in field goal range. I hope we can go down and score a touchdown. It was like, well, we knew we were about to do it.
We had 10 plays in our 2-minute packages. 10 plays, 1 through 10, all in a 2-by-2 formation. And when I tell people that 15 years later, that the most successful we ever were in 2-minute was with the same 10 plays for 5 or 6 years,
Yep.
we never changed them. We didn't change our numbers.
Nope.
We didn't change anything. And we would out-execute you in those type of situations because we knew it better than you did, and we could do it with better tempo.
Coach Reminiscing used to tell us all the time, because there were some times when we'd go to the meeting room and be like, do you think we need to change the numbers or change things up a little bit? And his favorite line, he would say, well, I don't give a damn if they know it. They still got to stop it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing they never were able to do is stop what we did. But
Well, I think Terry knew if we would have changed those numbers, y'all would have screwed him up.
it was a
he just wasn't going to tell you out there. I think that's what it was.
That was a good part in it.
Yeah.
You got us. We're going to transition into, teammates and coaches. And you mentioned it earlier, man. You had a lot of success. There was a lot of guys beside you, offensive line-wise, receiver-wise, defense. A lot of those guys in the room today. So I want those guys to stand up, and I want y'all to give them a round of applause. Stand up, guys. So I think one of the things that was pretty cool about our team is that we team bonded on every single level. Talk about how important that was for you, being the quarterback, being the leader, to see us being able to interact with one another. You've seen receivers hanging out with defensive linemen, quarterbacks hanging out with linebackers and that whole nine. Why was that important?
I mean, we're all in it together. And, you know, I always thought that stuff matters. Like, to me, that stuff genuinely matters. That, you know, I value what you're doing just as much as you value what I'm doing. Because I know, especially as a quarterback, you are completely dependent on 10 other guys on offense. But you're also completely dependent on what the defense is doing. And you're completely dependent on the 6 units in special teams and what they're doing throughout the course of the game. So, like, everyone matters in the locker room. And I just believe that when you get to know people on a deeper level than just surface level communication in a meeting room, when it's time to call somebody out or have a hard conversation or whatever, they know it's coming from a place of, like, I actually care about you. And it's coming from that spot. And I think the other thing, too, is, I tell this to young quarterbacks all the time, is like, you need to humanize yourself, too, as a quarterback, right? Because the longer you play, the more you're involved in game planning, or what are your thoughts on this personnel or that? And so there is this space where you're helping in that capacity, but you're still just a player, you know? And so I just feel like balancing, you know, those two things was always intentional for me, but it was also, quite frankly, it was most fun. You know, it was the most fun times we would have, you know, during the day was just, you know, hanging out, playing cards, whatever it was, rolling dice. I learned a lot of things I didn't know before I got to Atlanta, which was...
Y'all heard him. You heard him. Rolling dice, baby.
I learned a lot of new games.
Boo-ray, Tonk, we played it all. But it was also like, it was team bonding for us on the airplane, being able to converse with one another, talk about things. But I think you said the biggest one. We were so close, no one felt some type of way when another player called them out on any and everything.
No.
And I think that's the ultimate team. That's another reason why we were able to have so much success, Matt.
Yeah, and I mean, Harry, you can probably speak to it. I could be difficult. You know, I could be difficult on the day-to-day.
Well, tell them about the time I missed the hot route, Matt.
Oh, man.
The only time I ever missed a hot route in my career, he dog cursed me on the sidelines.
I think it was our rookie year.
Our rookie
I think we
season.
were playing Carolina.
Yep.
We were in the All Blacks. We were in the All Blacks for playing Carolina. And so we get two off the slot, whatever it was. We were in probably 74 or 75 protection. We get 2 off the slot. And so I think I had pointed to you too, like prior to it. I'm like, Harry, you know, takes one, whatever it was.
I was excited,
Yeah,
man.
100%.
I was excited.
So he's supposed to break off his route. He doesn't do it. And I get drilled or like throw the ball away, and I'm running to the sideline. I'm like, Harry, what are you doing? Your cue. And Harry's like, what does that mean?
It's like, what? The hell are you talking about, Q? I've seen John Q. What do you mean, Q? But it was one of those moments where I didn't take it personal, but I made it a point of emphasis to never have it happen again.
It was also a lesson that I learned in my rookie year. I need to know in those Thursday meetings, I need to know what the other guys don't know, right? It was more important for me to have those meetings, not to test you or quiz you or embarrass you or anything like that. It was to know, hey man, he didn't know his stuff. I've got to help him. I've got to be there as a teammate. I've got to do that for our team, right? And so that was a lesson learned for me, like early on. Oh, that's on me. I didn't communicate it clearly enough to Harry that he needed to, you know, break cue. And so I think that's just, you know, part of being the teammates. But I also like to.
It was fun.
I like to get after.
I guess it comes with the territory, man. And I think, you know, for as great as you was, there's that balance on when you can be nice, when you have to be firm and be able to get on guys. And I thought you did a great job of it amongst every year that you played in the league, especially here for the Falcons, man.
My last year in college, my offensive coordinator was Steve Logan. And Steve was a head coach at East Carolina for a long time, and then came in for my last year at BC. And he told me prior to the season starting, he said, there's a loneliness, but there's a serious responsibility that comes with leadership. And you better get comfortable with it because the other guys need it. And I'll never forget that. And there is. It can be lonely at times when you're having to just be on people day in and day out. And you can never lose sight, though, of the responsibility that you have to them. I'm not trying to get after you. I'm trying to make you better. I'm trying to make sure we're ready to play on Sunday.
That's what I love about you, man. Always held guys accountable. That's why you're the ultimate pro. Now, this past offseason, you spoke about this earlier. Raheem Morris asked you to come up and talk to the team about what it means to be a Falcon. Now, you got other news that you were going into the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor as well. I want y'all to check this video out on what Matt Ryan said, what it means to him to be a Falcon.
I said, let's go get Mr. Falcon himself, man, to tell us what it means to be a Falcon to him. But I want to introduce Matt Ryan.
All right, first of all, I just want to say thanks to Raheem for asking me to come in and talk to you guys, man. It's a little bit surreal to be back. So Rod texted me a little while back and asked if I would come in and talk to you guys. And I said, yeah, cool. What do you want me to talk about? He's like, what it means to be a Falcon. And I was like, that's kind of a heavy thing to talk about because, for 14 years, this was my life, right? Coming in, sitting in the meeting rooms, working out on the practice fields, just trying to do everything I could to help this team win. So it had me thinking about what the mindset was when we were in this building. And for me, it was always about, I didn't get who we were playing. We're gonna show up and roll these, right from the start. New Orleans, yeah, tough place to play. Won a Super Bowl in 2009. The group that we had plays them week 3 of 2010, and we go down and hand it to them down there. No one was scared, right? Nobody was scared. We all had the belief that no matter who the we were playing, we were gonna go out there and take care of business. I came into this league and saw this locker room that had all these people from different places. And every team I've been a part of, whether it's here, Boston College, Indianapolis, doesn't make a difference, right? Every locker room says this, right? We got people from all over the place that are coming together to work towards a common bond. The difference here in Atlanta is that the city is the exact same way. You gotta earn it from them. And when you do, this city goes on fire. Trust me, Ra's been a part of it. I've been a part of it. Jake's been a part of it. When you get rolling here, this city comes on fire. And my challenge to you guys is to get it back rolling. Because to me, what it means to be a Falcon is to go out there and earn it every day. That's how you get it in this league. Nothing's given, everything is earned.
I don't know
From the heart, man. Like you
100%.
explained in detail what it means to be a Falcon. And you exemplified that every single time you walk, bro.
Yeah, and I think it's, but I learned it. I learned it from the guys that I came in to the building, and saw how important those rivalries were, saw how important it was to have this mindset of no matter what, we're going to get the job done. So I learned it from all of these teammates and coaches, along the way. But I think it's kind of cool that came out because I think for the most part, for most of my career, I think from an outside perspective, people didn't really see who I was, right? I think there's a responsibility that comes with being at the podium post-game and representing the organization the way it should be represented. That was something that was very important to me all the time. But you're also protecting your teammates and you're protecting your coaches publicly, right? And I always felt like issues like those were better solved in-house. And I feel like a lot of times some of the criticism I would get was that I was boring at the podium and whatever. And I was like, oh, that's fine. But that's not me.
Stay out of our business.
Yeah, stay out of our business. And so I felt like it was cool that, people reacted so well to that, and that they got a better insight into what I was actually like, day to day, and what I was like in those kind of meeting rooms, because that was relatively tame to some other ones, which is pretty funny.
Now, I would say this, when you got announced that you were going into the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor, I know a lot of teammates reached out to you. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, overwhelmed. Because football is the ultimate team sport, and people say that all the time, and everybody, says it because it's true, right? You are so dependent on other guys and them doing their jobs to allow you just to have the opportunity for you to do your job. So you get to where you get to in this profession because of the people around you. And I was surrounded by so many good ones. So it means so much, when people do reach out and kind of just say congrats, we're happy for you, whatever. So, I mean, it means the world to you, right? And that's the thing you miss the most when you're done playing, is that you're just not around that every day. When you're in it, you're kind of in that environment all the time, and it's so healthy for you, and you kind of miss that when it's gone. But it's nice when you do hear from folks.
I'll tell you, when they reached out to me that they were going to announce it, man, I was bawling inside because I wanted to be there, and I had to work. But I did everything in my power to make sure I didn't miss the night, boss. You are my dude. You're my guy, man. All right, as we transition, y'all, I want you to talk about some of the veterans that you were able to lean on, because we had a team full of them.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the guys that were older that showed you things to better your life, and also not just on the field, but also off the field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think back to that locker room we came into, that team that you and I came into in 2008. Let's start just in the wide receiver group, right? I mean, you have Roddy and Jank, and those two are incredible people, incredible human beings, very different personalities, but worked, man. They worked hard. And then you had Finn. You had Brian Finneran in there too, who was, yeah.
What's the minimum? What's the minimum? One minimum.
Well, yeah, one. Stop it. So anyhow, no, but you had guys like Brian Finneran, and so my first couple of years, I lived in the same neighborhood as Finn, and so just him even just inviting me over to the house, and having you for dinner, or just checking on you at different times, making sure you're okay, pulling into the house and seeing how you're doing, that kind of stuff meant so much to me as a young player. And just kind of helps you navigate that space. And then I think about Todd McClure. Todd McClure to me, yeah, I mean, he's the most salt of the earth human being that you'll ever meet, and just so even-keeled and such a good temperament, but his impact, I think, on me was even stronger because that quarterback to center relationship, when you're getting the run game going, or you're making calls in pass protection, I didn't have to do any of that early on because he was so good and took so much off my plate and allowed me to just compartmentalize and think, kind of just about the passing game, just about the route concepts or the coverage. That was so impactful. But, those guys, had serious impact. I see the picture of Tony G. He comes our second year. And his life lessons, and wisdom. Unbelievable on just in perspective. And it was really good for me to get that bit of perspective that wasn't just 24/7 foot on the gas football, right? You need to take time for yourself to get away, to recharge the batteries, to do those kind of things. I mean, the list could go on and on and on, but that locker room was loaded with people who influenced you and I.
Well, you talk about the locker room, and we used to have a lot of fun. And not only are you going to be a future Hall of Famer, you are a rock star with the guitar, my man. Let's watch a little video. We used to have this thing in our locker room called D-Block. Let's check this one out.
Welcome back to D-Block. Got special guests. D-Block here too, baby. I promise y'all, gonna treat y'all every week. Let's do it.
Came from foreign lands to please the Falcons fans, arriving in backpacks on his brother's back. Now he's in the spot with my dogs D-Block. Friday afternoon, hanging with D-Block, hanging with D-Block, up in the spot with my dog D-Block. Keep going, that's it. D-Block, hanging with D-Block. Did I say keep playing, man? Did I say keep playing, man? D-Block, we going down to Houston. D-Block, D-Block, D-Block,
Houston, we got him.
When you talk about playing the game, so many people probably ask you all the time, Matt, do you miss the game? Do you miss playing? No, we don't miss playing the game. This is what we miss the most right here.
Yeah.
That right there.
Yeah, right after a win, I mean, there's nothing like it, being in that locker room together. How about that video, though, man? We had some glue guys in there. Brett Romberg on the vocals. Well done.
I think one of our funniest teammates.
We got Mike Pete in there.
Mike Peterson, but Stephen Nicholas.
Stephen Nicholas was out of his mind.
A funny story about
He was
Stephen
awesome.
Nicholas, y'all.
Picnic.
I remember we used to run plays, offense versus defense, and I remember a play, Roddy was in the backfield, and Stephen Nicholas is literally at linebacker. 84's in the backfield. 84's in the backfield. I know where you're going. 84's in the backfield. It's just funny, though, like, when you see stuff like that, how hard is it for you to not laugh while you're at the line of scrimmage?
I probably said something to him while he was saying it, you know. Yeah, you do start laughing, but like Stephen, his energy every day was unbelievable. But you said it, I mean, that's the stuff you miss. You got Chris Chester right there, the Silver Fox looking good in the NFC Champions shirt right there. You know, it's just, it's a ton of fun. You miss that stuff.
And Matt, you played with a lot of guys. You touched on this earlier as well. That was very impactful on your career as well. Offensive linemen, running backs, tight ends, the whole nine. But none was better than the pass catchers. When you look at Hall of Famer Tony Gonzalez, Ring of Honor member Roddy White, future Hall of Famer Julio Jones, Hall of Famer Devin Hester, Michael Jenkins, Brian Finneran. How have all of those guys impacted you?
I mean, I can't even put it into words. The amount they changed my life. Not only from playing and catching all those balls, but I learned as much from you guys as I hope you learned from me, because, you know, like, you look at Roddy right there. Roddy and I's relationship was so different from my relationship with you, which was so different from my relationship with Julio, which was so different from my relationship with Jank, which was so different from my relationship with Tony. You know, like, I learned so much of how each guy, you know, needed something different from me, right? In that group, you were one of the guys that, although you missed that one hot route, you usually had your ducks in a row. I knew I didn't have to kind of over-communicate to you. You knew where you were at. Roddy and I's relationship was sometimes volatile. You know, it could be on the field, him coming back at me as hard as I would go at him, and he would always like, Ice plays better when he's mad. Ice plays better when he's mad. And that's what he would tell me all the time. And so he would be yelling at me and screaming at me. He probably pushed back at me the hardest of anybody else on the field, which was awesome. You know, but Julio was very much, all right, let's get back into the meeting room. Let's really talk this through. Let's talk through how we're going to make adjustments in what we're going to do. And with Tony, it was just calming him down. I know you're open. I know you're always open. I hear you. I understand. I'll get you the ball. It's coming. It's coming, you know? So I learned how to pacify, you know, everybody. But I learned a lot about leading guys from that group because everybody's personality and playing style was so different. But the juice was always worth the squeeze because everybody was so talented. Every one of you guys was so talented and so productive on the field that it required every bit of effort on my part.
what you just talked about, we call it leadership, right? And a lot of people talk about it, but it's hard for people to go out there and display it every single day. That's what you did. And what came with that leadership was that C on your jersey as a captain. Talk about the personal responsibility that you knew came with being a captain for the Atlanta Falcons.
It meant a lot. I mean, it meant a lot to me playing sports, my whole life growing up, right? If you were a captain of the team, man, that was an incredible honor. And then, to be that so many times, in Atlanta, it came with a weight, it came with a level of responsibility to show up every day, right? And like I say this with young men or players or guys, we see better than we hear, right? You can talk until you're blue in the face, but we all see better than we hear, so you need to show people how to do it. And that was really, how I viewed that role as quarterback or captain, was show you how it's done, and show you what it takes, and the effort that it takes and the commitment that it takes, and hold other guys to that standard, right? We all signed up for it. We all agreed to it, and we all need to pull our weight. And so that's how I viewed it.
You were a damn good captain, a damn good leader, and you always represented the right way. Now, I told you earlier, we're going to have people frequently come through here, come on this stage. Don't turn your head down. You're trying to cheat, don't cheat. I want y'all to stand up and give a round of applause to the next person I'm about to call to the stage, because he's also an Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor member, and he played center. I want y'all to stand up and give a round of applause for Todd Mud Duck McClure.
What's up, man? How you doing, dog? Come on, get in here, What's up?
How we doing?
Oh, doing good, man. Doing good.
Now, as you can see, Todd just got out of church service.
Look, hey, Harry, I don't put on suits unless somebody died or somebody's getting towards the end or something. Hey, 2008 right here is when this one was made.
I love it.
Todd, man, I want to ask you, go back to 2008, rookie quarterback coming in. You're at the center position. You guys have to have a unique relationship. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the name Matt Ryan?
Harry, I can remember the first time, I think it was OTAs, and I've told him this story. He's stepping into the huddle, and he's getting ready to call a play, and he steps in and says, "Shut the F up." And everybody's like, uh-oh, we got something right here, And we knew at that time he was going to command our respect, and he took it off from there.
Matt, for you, knowing how pivotal Todd, the role that he played in your life, especially your career too, what is one thing you would love to tell him right now?
I love him, man. That's probably
love you too, brother.
the number one thing. But I'm just, I think back to my life. I've been so fortunate to be in the right place at the right time with the right people. Mm-hmm. And for me, like coming in as a rookie quarterback with a lot on your plate, and you get a guy like Todd, who's not only an unbelievable player, like super, super smart, was never really wrong on protection stuff, which helped me big time, was great in the run game, but also he was just so level-headed, man, about how to ride the season, kind of the roller coaster of the season. He also kind of handled that group of offensive linemen, which took off some of the responsibility of me as a quarterback. That was a wild group.
Yeah, we had a crew,
right? And so, for me, that took so much stress off me, and I just feel so fortunate that we walked into that locker room. I got to be honest, I knew nothing about Todd McClure before I got to Atlanta, and I learned really quickly this is the guy that leads this football team, and that was fun to be a part of.
Todd McClure, ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause.
Love you, man. Thank
Oh, man.
I'm a filter guest from here on out.
Oh, man. So, back in 2008, well, number one, you played for a lot of great coaches. 2008 was our first year, but it was also our head coach's first year, Mike Smith. I want y'all to make some noise for Coach Mike Smith. Smitty, stand up, please. Matt, I want you to talk about the relationship, number one, coming in that you knew you had to have with Coach Smith as a head coach, and also how that relationship developed over time.
Well, I think he was very, very intentional with me right from the start of, we're not going to put too much on you too soon. And you're going to need to earn all of these things along the way. And that was even the way training camp was set up, right? I didn't start training camp as the starter. Chris was, and played in that first preseason game. I came off the bench, then came off the bench again in the second week, and then finally started the third week. So he was very intentional with everything about not putting too much on my plate from the start. And he told me all the time, make no mistake about it, I got your back, no matter what. I have your back. And that meant so much to me, as a young player, of just this sense of kind of, I don't want to say relief, but like this sense of security that you had, that you knew Smitty had your back. And he was real with me about that kind of stuff. And our relationship at the beginning was really good, but it just continued to grow. As you go through life and you go through the ups and downs of what we went through during Coach Smith's time here, we went through a lot together, man. And so I remember the first time him having that conversation about we're attached at the hip and wins and losses, we're the two people who are responsible for it in this building, and we'll wear it together, and we'll have each other's back as we grow together. And it meant so much to me. And just like his passion is the thing I think of all the time. He was detailed, he was organized, he was a heck of a football coach, but his passion is the thing I remember, man. How red his face would get on that sideline. He was chewing someone out, and I love to see it. I love to see it. But just how much it meant to him, man, and you knew it, you felt it. You felt it as a player playing for him. He's the best.
Coach Smith, thank you, 2008, for not making us have a separate rookie minicamp. That meant everything. Because I see these young guys now, and I see them having separate minicamps, and hamstrings are getting blown. You allowed us to come in together with the veterans and learn on the fly with those guys. So that's something, man, I really did appreciate. I know Matt did too.
Yeah.
Because you were able to just go right in with the older guys, right?
100%. I went right into the meetings, and it was, you got to catch up.
Yep.
You got to catch up. These guys have been in here for a month or whatever it was at that time. You got to catch up and get up to speed, and I love that.
Now, Matt, you had a great relationship with not just coaches, but front office executives. We have a lot of people in the building today, support staff, trainers. If you were able to tell them one thing tonight, what is that thing you want to let them know?
I just am so thankful, for all that they did for myself and for all of us as players. We tried to let you know, as best we could, how much we appreciate it, everybody in that building. And it's first class. I mean, it really is. It's one of the most incredible organizations that you can ever be a part of. And so I'm so thankful for everybody in that building that really bends over backwards every day to help the team win and to make lives for the players as simple as possible so they can focus on winning. It's incredible.
So now, y'all, we get to move on to the greatest season that Matt Ryan had as an Atlanta Falcon, 2016. And Matt, there was a clip where you said in 2015 that if you guys were able offensively to put everything together, that you would be able to make some magic happen, some remarkable things will be able to happen for you guys as well. What did you see at that point before the season that allowed you to believe that?
Well, 2015 was such an interesting season because we got off to this really good start. I can't remember what we were, maybe 5-0 or 6-0. 5-0. 5-0. They know our numbers better than us, Harry. But I remember even during that stretch of the first 5 or 7 or 8 games being like, man, we're 5-0, but like, I don't know. Like, we're piecemealing this together, finding ways to win. It we're not clicking, but we're winning, which was great. And then we finished the second half of the season, and I think we finished 8-8 in 2015. And the second half of the season, although we were losing games, you could feel it as an offense. You were like, oh no, like this is actually starting to get better. I'm starting to understand, what we're trying to do. It was new year for a play caller, new scheme, first time in my career, completely new terminology. Like call the play got hard in year 7 or 8, whatever it was for me.
I remember a conversation that we had, and I remember asking you about the new offensive system, and you were like, man, you talk about wordy, and everything was just different than what we had already had.
I remember fighting with Kyle Shanahan in the first half of that season, being like, can we use a wristband, dog? Can I just read it? Because regurgitating it was hard. But I remember, really in that last 3 or 4 games of that season being like, okay, I feel like we're getting better, man. And I feel like we're creating some of these explosive plays. We're starting to run the ball a little bit better. Like you could just feel it coming together. And then heading into that 2016 season, I felt like, man, if we can kind of add a few pieces, put a couple things together and get back into that same rhythm, we could have something.
So I'm going to jump to 2016. I'm going to go to week 11, right?
Yep.
You guys, previous to that, you lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. You have a bye week.
Yep.
You're 6-4 at this point. But, man, you win 5 of the next 6. And I want to read the numbers for you, Matt. In those 6 games, you averaged 283 yards passing per game, threw for 14 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. It had an average passing rating of 121.48. Y'all went on to win the division. The regular season MVP, in my opinion at that time, was signed, sealed, and delivered. But talk about that stretch and how you guys were able to get on a heater at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It just felt like every time we touched the ball, we were going to score a touchdown. And like you truly believed, like you were disappointed with a field goal. Like that's just where we felt like we were operating at. We were running it really well. We were throwing it really well. The thing I loved about it too was like we had people stepping up. We had a couple weeks where Julio and Muhammad were both down, and Turbo, Taylor, Gabriel's out there making plays left and right. Aldrick Robinson's, going to work on people. We had young running backs and Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman, great offensive line, good defense. So we were at that point where we were gelling and running the football and explosive it was so much fun.
So you guys end up winning the division. You're playing in the playoffs. Seattle again, not by surprise.
Yeah.
In that matchup, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yep.
Talk about clicking on all cylinders in that game.
Yeah, it just kept rolling. We started that game and kind of right from the start, felt like, all right, we're here. And just kept going. Got better as the game went on. Protection was really good, running the football really well. We were very good in the play action that year, like super successful in the play action pass. And just, like for me, it was, you would have this feel like I knew what the next play call was going to be.
Yeah.
We just ran this. Oh, man, I think he called this because we're setting this up. And then you'd hear it come in here and be like, oh, man, this is going to work. And it just did. And that's how that game shook out. That was good. That was a really good win. Really good win.
Now that puts us at a point where the NFC Championship game is happening.
Yep.
And this is not your first one. This is your second one.
Mm-hmm.
And before I get into that game, though, I want to ask you, knowing what happened in 2012,
yep.
What's your mind going into this NFC Championship game in 2016?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how it's going to shake out.
Yeah.
You don't know how this football game is going to be, played. Be ready for it all.
Yeah.
No matter, what the first quarter is like, no matter what the second quarter is like, be ready for it all. And I just remember, going into that game, we had a really good game plan, and Kyle Shanahan used to do these meetings on Friday where he would talk about the run game and how we were going to run the football that week. And they were awesome meetings, right? Like, you would sit in there and be like, oh my God, that's how we're going to, this is really going to work. And I remember him in that meeting being like, this week, guys, here's the run game, install. We're going to throw the ball to set up the run. And I was, let's go! let's go. And we came out firing. And we didn't let our foot off the gas the entire game. And they had no answer for it. They really just had no answer for it. So it was a ton of fun. It was the best environment for a football game I have ever seen in my life. And to be a part of it and to be on the right side of it.
I agree.
Was incredible.
But it was also special, too, because that was the last game at the Georgia game.
100%.
And to be able to not only beat the Green Bay Packers, you thumped the Green Bay Packers 44-21.
Yeah.
No reason for us to talk. We might as well watch it on the video, y'all.
Win on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Matt looks with time. Now steps up. With double punt. Touchdown. Mohamed Sanu. Right here at the goal line on the near side. Pass is caught. Jones all alone. Full head of steam inside the 15. Ryan steps up in the pocket. Matt pumps, runs, 10, 5. Does he score? He does. A rushing touchdown for Matt Ryan. How bad does number 2 look? That's what I'm talking about. Here comes Green Bay. Ryan throws, end zone. Jones caught it all the way through. Touchdown Atlanta. Oh, what a grab. That's why he is who he is. Takes the snap. Play fake to Freeman. Ryan wants to throw. Jones the catch. Look out. Midfield. Julio into Green Bay territory. A stiff arm at the 15. 10, 5. Touchdown Atlanta. Play action. Ryan throws. Middle of the field. And wow, what a catch. Jones gets flipped and hangs on. 3rd and goal Atlanta. It's 4. Ryan to throw. Matt, end zone, Freeman, did he hang on? It was a touchdown.
Excited. We played great today, all 3 phases. Showed up, we did exactly what we've been doing all year, and it feels really good.
Yeah. 392 yards passing, 4 touchdown passes, a 14-yard touchdown run. You were hitting on every cylinder you could think of, bro. I want to sit here. I want to give you your flowers, man. I was in the building. I was sitting up in the box that night. And I was saying to myself, remember NBA Jam back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
He's on fire.
Yeah.
Bro, he was on fire.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I want to talk to you about being able to play that game at that level and being able to lead the Atlanta Falcons to their 2nd Super Bowl appearance in franchise history. What did that mean to you?
I mean, it meant so much, right? Like this is what I was brought here to do, and I always didn't shy away from that. This is what I wanted. I wanted to be in these kind of games. I wanted to win these kind of games. I wanted to be playing, in the Super Bowl, and so it meant a ton to me. You work your entire life, not just like that season. Your entire life has been a build-up to get to this point. And you kind of remember all of the people that impacted you along that way as you start to get in those kind of games. And so it was an awesome time. I've never seen the entire city just like in a better place, than that kind of stretch of time. And it was really fun to be a part of it. And, what a way to close out that dome. And obviously disappointing then, dealing with the disappointment of losing the Super Bowl. That was hard. One of the things I'm most proud of, though, is the way that team the next year dealt with answering the questions that we all get asked about. 28-3. Okay, yeah, very original. Good one, yeah.
But I was saying
that next team, we answered questions about that every day, every week of the season.
Yep.
And we persevered. We made it to the playoffs. And that was one of the things I was most proud of in my entire time with the Atlanta Falcons was the resilience of that team.
And I understand, man, in that Super Bowl, not the outcome you wanted, but I also want to read these numbers, right? Because you finished that game, Matt, with the 4th highest passing rating in Super Bowl history, 284 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Looking back at that season, though, what was the most special thing about 2016?
I don't know, man. It's.
You know what? I'm going to stop you because I know what was special about 2016. It was you winning MVP, Matt. It was you winning MVP of the league. I set you up.
I mean, I know I did.
But let me ask you this, though.
Thank you.
To be recognized by the entire NFL and to be the best player in the league that year, speak on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It really is. And like sometimes I don't think it's real. You know, I feel like you're like, how does this even happen to you at different times in your life? But it was so much fun, and to be recognized that way, like I think about that with like first team All-Pro. To me, the MVP is incredible, and I'm so proud of that. But for guys that, if you ever got a first team All-Pro in the NFL, like that is the ultimate tip of the cap. You were one of the absolute best on the planet and the very best at your position on the planet. Like to me, that was incredible as well. And so it's nice. I keep that trophy. I've got that trophy in the house. That's proudly displayed in the house. But yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible.
I would also say now, as you transition to the 2017 season, I want to take you back to 2012, right? A lot of success in 2012, came up short in the NFC Championship game, moved to 2013, we don't make the playoffs.
Yep.
So as you're having a lot of success in 2016, you make the Super Bowl, not the outcome you wanted. We get it, folks. But as you go to 2017, what's going through your mind knowing that in 2012, 2013, you had success but didn't make it back to the playoffs?
Yeah, and it was one of those things. I remember in 2012, we were so close at the end of that game against San Francisco. And so that feeling of like, God, we put in so much work and we were so close, but we didn't get there. And kind of, I think I learned from us answering the questions about, you know, you're 8 yards away or whatever it was that season. And Smitty did a great job of kind of prepping us for that. And I just kept that in the back of my mind as we kind of were in that 2017 season, like learn from the mistakes I made, you know, that year of not getting caught up or thinking too far ahead or trying to get back to that game week 2, you know, just chip away at it and find a way to win football games along the way. So I think that's the things you pick up through all of your experiences through your career, these little nuggets that you learn along the way that kind of help you for the next time you're in that situation. I think we did.
I love it. We talked about this feisty part of Matt Ryan, right? And how he was able to get me early in my career. I wasn't the only one, I'll tell you guys that. We have a video to show that, you know, sometimes you got to be a feisty human being to get things in order. Uh-oh. Let's play this one right now, y'all.
Win.
Should we clear the air of what actually happened here?
Win.
So, you see Julio go like this. So, you know it. Terry knows it. He's sitting here. Julio liked to take his time getting lined up, right? Like all you guys did. He'd get into a stance. He'd be moving around. He'd be looking, kind of moving around, wiggling your hands. All you guys do. Play clock's running down. It's at 4 right here. I got a motion. I got a run play going. I got to get this ball snapped. He didn't hear me the first time, so I made sure he heard me the second time.
But that's the part about, you know, a lot of people, when I talk to people about you all the time, right, it's, oh, Matt Ryan, oh, they think you're this just super nice guy all the time, but they don't see the ornery part, right?
Yeah.
They don't see the guy that's assertive, that's passionate. And all of the guys in this room that played with you, we've seen that every single day. Talk about throughout your career, and not that you had to explain to people how you were on a daily basis in the locker room, but fighting that narrative that Matt Ryan is this just, oh, nice guy every time he walks around.
I happen to think I am nice.
Well, you are nice. you are nice, but you know, you get what I'm saying.
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me. And I learned well early because I had good guidance from everyone within the organization. But I learned as I continue to grow that it just makes life easier you know, when you're handling all of the things that are coming your way in that manner in front of the camera or you know, out in whatever it is, right? It helps. Like, it helps you to be able to do your job better. But that was part of my job, right? Part of my job was to be in front of the camera, to be a face of the organization, to be a face of the football team, to be all of those things. And I wanted to do that in a way that was really just set up in a way that wouldn't make me any more difficult to do the rest of my job, right? And that's how I viewed it. And so, yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me.
The way you were is the way that quarterbacks have to be. And we've seen it from Tom Brady. We've seen it from Drew Brees. You've seen it from Peyton Manning. All the greats in this game.
You have to do it your way.
Yep.
Like that's the other thing I tell young quarterbacks all the time. It's like, you have to be able to do it your own way. But make no mistake, at the end of the day, they have to know who's in charge. They have to know who's running the show. They have to know who is the only voice that's speaking in the huddle, right? And you have to be able to nip that in the bud quickly, because the game happens so fast, right? And when you get out there on Sunday, like I always thought for us, and the way I viewed it was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I was probably going to be a lot harder on you than we were going to be on Sunday. On Sunday, we were all doing this together. But we're not going to have many back and forths on the side. That's just not how we did it. We never did it that way. And but during the week was where I felt like you needed to be the hardest.
Now, that wasn't the only time that you displayed passion on the football field. 2019, you guys are playing the Philadelphia Eagles at home. And for some odd-in-the-pan reason, a defensive coordinator thought it was smart to go cover 0 at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Y'all check this play out.
4th and 3. Meanwhile, they better get the snap here because the play clock is at 1. They do. Off they go. Catches may get the first and a lot more. Julio Jones out in front. He's going to go all the way. Touchdown. Yards on a 4th and 3.
I think they had blitzed us like 8 or 9 times cover 0 that night.
Unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And I felt disrespected. As a quarterback. And so decided to make them pay on the last play.
How did you used to decipher between playing with so much passion but also keeping poise at the same time?
I think there's time and a place to get it out, right? Like, in knowing in that situation, yeah, maybe you let somebody know. But in other situations, you might have to get right back to the next play right away. And for me, I'm a fiery type personality. Yeah. And so to get it out quick and then get back and kind of reset and focus on whatever's next, that was what always worked best for me.
So we have these numbers, or I have these numbers in my head. You passed for over 62,000 yards in your career. Matt, you're 7th all time in the NFL entirely in passing yards. But there's this other number I want to bring up to you, 1,539. Do you know what that number is? I'm not even going to give you a chance to answer, Matt. Sorry.
It's my rushing yards.
That's your rushing yards.
We have a rusher in the NFL. I can never take that away from me.
We have a video of Matty Wheels.
Oh, yeah. Let's see it. Oh, yeah. That's a first down, baby.
Ryan looking end zone. There it is. He will take it in himself for an Atlanta touchdown.
Has got a lot of grass in front of him, and now a touchdown. Decides to keep it himself, jumps up, and gets into the end zone. Touchdown, Matt Ryan.
Big play here. Ryan, we're going to run it. First down, touchdown. Second down, Ryan escapes, gonna run, has some room, and a touchdown!
Yeah! That's what I'm talking about!
I think it's safe to say you didn't run much, but when you did, they were pivotal runs. Where did you get the athleticism from? Dad's side of the family, mom's side of the family?
I think my mom's side of the family.
It usually works that way, too.
Yeah, I think my mom's side of the family is where I got it from, so that was pretty good. And I think it was all those years of running the triple option with Coach McCluskey at Penn Charter that trained me for those 1,000 yards.
Coach, we still got to have a conversation after the show about this triple option. We really do.
Reach, read, and ride, man. We're automatic.
We cannot go through this entire night without talking about one of the best rivalries, if not the best rivalry in football. Falcons versus Saints.
Cool.
Matt, you played in 29 games versus New Orleans Saints, and I want you to talk about that rivalry and what it meant to you.
I mean, it was the best. The vibe in both cities was incredible. I mean, and it was better in Atlanta, of course. But just the passion from both sides of it was so fun to be. It felt different. Those weeks felt different. As much as we say, you treat every week the same, that week felt different. Here, there, wherever, it felt different. And winning down in New Orleans, those are just some of my favorite memories. And telling them, who's that? We that. I loved it.
That's my quarterback.
I loved it. So it was the best, right? But you even see like a picture of Drew Brees there. It was awesome too because there was so much continuity in those teams. Drew played for them for so long when we were going against. I was here, and it's just like that back and forth, and so many guys that you knew. It was a ton of fun to be a part of it. And I tell people, I go out there all the time when we're around talking to fans of different teams in the NFL. I'm like, don't sleep on this. This is one of the absolute best rivalries in the NFL, for sure.
The rivalry is so good, in my opinion. I know I'm biased, y'all, but I actually think it's the best one in the NFL because of what comes with the two cities as well.
Yeah.
Both cities so culture. You talk about food. You talk about the music industry.
Yeah. Remember when they were throwing eggs at the airport at their plane when they came in?
Yeah. I tell people all the time, the only thing that I love about New Orleans is their food, number one, and my wife's side of the family is from there. So for you, man, in 2021, your last time playing in the Superdome, you were able to be Matty Ice once again.
Yeah.
And go down and lead the Falcons to a field goal. And I want to show a video about this rivalry because I think it just means so much for you, but also everyone else in this room.
Matt looks, throws, end zone, caught! Tony Gonzalez, the Atlanta touchdown. Ryan on the 5-step, wide open, Freeman a catch at the 10. Needs a little Freeman block and gets a touchdown. He'll inside shovel it to Hardy, who stretches. Ryan in the pocket. Matt looks, throws, touchdown! Mohamed Sanu. Still there, Matt going to sprint to the right. Now point and keep it and score. Strung it all the way out, and all of a sudden, there were more white shirts than black shirts for the touchdown run by Ryan. Coleman to catch. Inside the 5, kept his balance. Touchdown Atlanta. Ryan's going to hang it downfield for Patterson, who makes the catch. Cordero stays in bounds. 20, knocked out of bounds at the 15-yard line.
That was the last one right there.
That's it. CP and then Koo.
Yeah.
Koo kicked it in, just like Sunday.
Yeah, bud.
Yeah. Koo.
We talked about a lot of football tonight. Looking back at your career, what are you most proud of?
I think the consistency. I really do. When I look back on it and think, if you would have told me at 13 or 14 years old that I would have played as long as I did, predominantly in one city, been the 7th most passing yards in the history of the NFL. That was what I always dreamed for. And in order to do that kind of stuff, you have to be incredibly consistent day in and day out, week in and week out. And I think more so than anything, I'm proud of how consistent I was. And knowing that I did the best I could. And I can lay my head on the pillow every night knowing that I worked as hard as I possibly could to be as good as I could. And I'm very proud of that.
When I say the next thing I'm about to say, Matt, I'm not saying it just because you're in front of me. or I want to make you happy, I want to please you. In my opinion, you are the greatest Falcon of all time. You really are, man. And also, with that being said, you're a Falcons Ring of Honor inductee, a future member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Make some noise with that one as well. There's no better help to articulate why than owner and chairman of the Atlanta Falcons, Arthur Blank himself. And right now, Mr. Blank, I would like to welcome you to the stage.
Oh, man. Make me cry.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Here it goes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate being here tonight and have an opportunity to honor really the greatest Falcon in our history. And it's 9:23, and I could stay 2 more hours tonight to just enjoy the camaraderie, the stories, the fellowship, the joy that you all express, and to all the coaches and players that are out here. It's just been an amazing experience for 14 years with Matt, so God bless. Great.
Mr. Blake, I want to ask you, from start to finish.
Yep.
You met Matt in 2008. You guys sat in Boston for a dinner. As you sit here right now, you guys have been able to have a very dynamic relationship. What are you most proud of when it comes to Matt Ryan?
Well, it's a really long list, but let me just make the dinner straight, going back to 2008. Coach Smith, Malarkey, Thomas, who's here tonight, our general manager, and he was 22 years old then, and there was 3 or 4 additional people. There were like 6 or 7 of us. And here's this 22-year-old senior in college, and was sitting around this table, and we're supposed to be actually hosting him and asking him questions, and he actually has us on the spot. He's asking us a million questions about the franchise and about our plans and our coaching and whatever else. So even at 22 years old, Matt Ryan had that presence and in charge. The other thing which hit me tonight is that you talked about Matt being a captain. So I would say, for 14 years, Matt really was not just the captain of our team, but the captain of our franchise. So when you think about, the face of a franchise, Matt Ryan was the face of this franchise for 14 years, not just on the field, but off the field as well. And so every box you could think of in checking what does a franchise player, franchise quarterback look like, this guy to my left really would be, a big picture in each one of those boxes. So, I look back and to think about his relationship with Sarah, and I all think you ought to give Sarah an incredible round of applause tonight too. We all know that behind every man, in this case Sarah, going back to their days in college and what have you, and I still remember when the twins were born, Johnny and Marshall, and bringing them to the office when Matt did a contract extension, and that was beautiful. And even then, they were born early, and Matt was involved in the hospital where they were born. Matt and Sarah both involved in starting a foundation there and being connected there. Later became involved in Children's, which is something near and dear to our heart as well. Another hospital dealing with kids in Atlanta. And in 2020, when things were difficult in Atlanta from a race standpoint across the nation, if you will, again, it was Matt and Sarah engaged in the community. So he was captain on the field. He was captain off the field. He was captain of Atlanta in many, many ways. So it was beautiful to see and appreciate and be on the sidelines to see Matt perform his magic probably 44, 50 times during the last minute or less of every single game. It seemed like every single game. But it was beautiful being able to share life with he and his family during that period of time. So I couldn't be more thankful. And for me to be inducted into the Ring of Honor seriously in the same year that Matt Ryan is a great honor for me to even be mentioned in that same group, in that same category. As much of the vote as we can influence Matt Ryan, because of his years of performance, does belong in the National Football League Hall of Fame as well. So, I'm sorry, Harriet, I went on and on. I probably answered 7 of your questions. I apologize.
It's okay.
But there's so much I wanted to say. So,
It's your mic.
yeah.
Matt, I want to ask you, as you look at Mr. Blank sitting beside you, what are you most thankful for when it comes to him?
Well, number one, for the opportunity, right? For the opportunity to be a part of this organization for as long as I was. But also, learning what true leadership looks like, you know, and how that permeates throughout an organization, and how much an impact the right person at the top can have. And then also, he talks about, you know, some of the things we've tried to help in the community. Nobody has done more for the city of Atlanta than Arthur Blank and your family. No one. And Harry, I think you can speak to it. It is a part of the ethos of the Falcons to give back to the community. And that starts with Mr. Blank, and that was something that I learned very early on, and something that was very important to me to try and keep up.
Mr. Blank, you do a phenomenal job, and when I'm on TV talking, I always talk about how things start at the top of organizations and how a lot of them fail because there's disarray at the top. And they're probably sick and tired of me bragging about, you know, you and how you do such a great job of, number one, understanding the players, understanding your staff, always giving back to the community. But as you sit here tonight, what's one last thing you would like for Matt Ryan to know?
Well, I love Matt. I mean, I truly do, as really as a captain in every sense of the word. And, you know, you can have a captain who performs well, but doesn't perform well in all phases of his life. I think Matt Ryan, Sarah Ryan, you know, Johnny, Marshall, Cal, the youngest, I mean, they represent everything that's important in our lives, which is a great family, great relationship, caring about each other in the chosen profession, on the field, off the field, caring about family. I got to know Matt's family over the years, a beautiful family. Spent many hours with his dad particularly, and somewhat with his mom. Just an incredible human being. So, you know, to have that kind of connection, and I see so many players out here I have a chance to quickly say hello to, and coaches and our current senior staff that's here. I mean, they all represent the very best of our values, the very best of themselves in leading life. And Harry, you were certainly here that way for us for many years, and I'm so proud to see your career and see what you've done. And I'm, as I am with Matt now, he's moved on now and doing an incredible job for CBS as you're doing for ESPN. So we'll be very honored on Thursday, incredibly honored on Thursday, to have an unbelievable ceremony, have Matt, Ryan, Sarah, the boys, all three of the boys sit with us during the game on Thursday, and God willing, and with the kind of effort we've had so far this year, we'll be able to bring home another W for Atlanta. So thank you. Yeah.
I would like for y'all to stand up and give a round of applause to the owner, chairman, and also the newest member of the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor.
Well done. You're the best. Love you.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you. Love you. Love you. Thank you.
Smooth.
As an operator. All right, so everyone hang tight. We are now entering the final chapter of tonight's show. And this is life, excuse me, and career after football and off the field with family. And Mac, earlier this year, you decided you wanted to retire from football. What led to that decision?
It was time. And, you know, I going into last year's season, I had the opportunity to call games with CBS and really enjoyed it, had a blast doing it, and knew, you know, given where everything was at, that it was time for me to be done. And I wanted to be done where I started. And it was an unbelievable day, and thank you to Mr. Blank and the organization for having me back, signing me to that one-day contract so I can, start and finish as a Falcon, which was incredibly important to me. So it's just time. It was time.
And you know, right? When you're in that situation, you know, and you wear many hats. And I tell people all the time, I don't like when people call guys football players. They happen to be a man that plays the game of football because there are so many attributes to these young men's lives that they can become outside of just playing football. And one of those hats that you wear now is with CBS. You are now on the pregame studio show, the NFL Today. Funny story, y'all. I'm watching games yesterday, and I'm studying for this stuff, right? Studying for the program tonight. And I hear a voice on the TV, and I'm like, I know that voice. And I look up, and it's Matt, and I literally took about 3 pictures of him, and I was about to send it to him. Matt has 3 kids. I have 2, 8 and 5. Let's just say that picture got disrupted.
Yeah, of
There's a little chaos in the house at the time.
It's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard. Crazy households, but it's good.
How are you enjoying the new role with CBS on the pregame show?
I'm lucky. I mean, I get to sit next to Bill Cowher every week and talk football, which is incredible. J.J. Watt has been great. Nate Burleson's incredible. And James Brown, man. JB is a legend in the broadcast world, and to learn from him is special. And, to think of the number of guys that have sat at that desk, it's the original pregame show. And so to think of the number of players and coaches and icons of our sport that have sat at that desk, and for me to be able to do it is special. So I've enjoyed it. I've had a blast.
It's pretty cool, man. Like, watching you was on point yesterday, too. Knew all your stuff, breaking down the plays. I tell people all the time, the game of football never leaves us.
No.
Even though we're retired. And being in media allows you to still be entwined with the game, from film watching to breaking down plays. So talk about that part of it, like being able to still, grasp the film and give the audience something that you know from behind the scenes and put it in basically layman terms.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's part of what I loved about playing and the competing was the strategizing all week, right? Of watching what they're doing, trying to decipher how they're going to play us, putting our plan together, and then, obviously loved going out there and executing it and performing it. But I still love watching other teams and how they're trying to play, what their schemes are. And so, I look at it all the time. We watch touchdown passes. Why did this work? What are they actually trying to do? We can talk about, he got open, it was a beautiful throw. Yeah, let's take a look at why the protection held up. Let's take a look at the design, where they put people, why they're attacking certain places in certain coverages. That stuff never leaves you. And for me, I find that incredibly interesting and fun. And so I love just as much the prep as I do being on the show.
So Thursday night is a masterful, huge night for you, your family, also the Atlanta Falcons organization. You're a Northeast kid, but Atlanta is now your home.
Yeah.
To be able to be in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, understanding that it's going to be a sellout. You're going into the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor. Talk about that, man. Talk about the surreal moment. At one point growing up that you probably thought was a dream is now becoming a reality.
Yeah, it's, number one, it's amazing how fast that happens, right? How fast you go from dreaming about it and then being in it and now being back looking at it. It happens incredibly fast, but I mean, it's so cool. It is so cool that you think about all the sacrifices that so many people made for you and sacrifices that you made on your own were all worth it.
Yep.
And for the history of however long the NFL continues to go on, every time the Falcons play, my name's going to be hanging in the rafters. So that's really special.
There's also this other part to your life that, makes me feel warm inside. I grew up here in Atlanta on the south side in Clayton County. You are very active in the community, you and your wife, Sarah Ryan. And you support different causes, different foundations. Talk about why giving back is very important to you.
I think even growing up, just kind of always, my parents always emphasizing to whom much is given, much is expected, right? And just never really, that always kind of being a guiding principle for my life. I think there's something to that. I think there's something to you get to Atlanta and you become a part of the Atlanta Falcons organization. it is encouraged for you to get out into the community to make an impact. I think Arthur does an incredible job of putting that team together for the Falcons. So you get this experience all of these things early on as a player. And if you go and you spend time at a children's hospital, or you go to different schools, or you go down into the after-school programs in Atlanta, and you spend any amount of time there, you know how much help they need and how impactful those visits are. And so seeing that at a young age and just having this principled kind of approach to it, it's always been important. And I think Sarah and I look at it as, we've got 3 young boys, and we want this city to be the best possible place for them to live on the planet. Not only for them, but for every race, every socioeconomic, every part of the city. We want to make it as good for everybody as we can, and we're trying to pull our weight where we can.
Let me tell y'all what's so unique about tonight. In that spirit that you just spoke about, and I love when people can be a cheerful giver.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's time, listening to someone, giving funds, the whole nine. As long as you do it cheerfully, you're going to be able to receive it back tenfold. But, we're excited to share that all ticket proceeds from tonight's program will go to ATL, Advance the Lives, a nonprofit organization started by Matt and Sarah Ryan in 2020 with the mission to alleviate structural barriers to Black youth success. So I would like for y'all to give them a round of applause for all the work that they've been able to do in the community.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Now also, to help celebrate your incredible impact in Atlanta, I would like to welcome Caroline Morta, Head of Sports and Entertainment Group for Truist, to the stage for a special presentation. There she is right there. Oh, fuck.
I know the bankers here are very exciting. Good evening, Falcons fans. I'm Caroline Murtaugh. I'm the head of our sports and entertainment group at Truist, and I'm really excited and thrilled to be here with y'all celebrating tonight. At Truist, our purpose is to improve the lives and communities around us, and so with that in mind, we wanted to make sure that we were tonight's presenting sponsor. Makes a lot of sense. Our commitment to care, focus on innovation, and collective passion drives us. And we also obviously share that commitment to community with Matt. Not only was Matt an amazing player for the Falcons for several years, but he's also had a huge impact on our great city of Atlanta. So on behalf of Truist, the Falcons, and all of us who call Atlanta home, this gift is a small token of our appreciation for all that Matt has done to make this community a better place. Congratulations on your induction into the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor.
Oh my gosh. This is incredible. Thank you so much.
Now we get to the part of the show where we talk about your support system, your family. Talk about the impact your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, your, cousins, wife, kids, the impact they've had on your life throughout this journey.
Yeah, I mean, I start, with my parents, just incredible support from a young age, and knowing when to push, knowing when I needed a hug, knowing when I needed, a kick in the rear end, whatever. They were just incredibly supportive and encourage you to chase your dream, right? Like, not be scared of going for it. And I appreciate that kind of mindset that they had. And my siblings, I mentioned my older brother earlier, but just the same with them, right? It's just, as you're navigating the space of going through the NFL, it's still just your brothers and your sister, which is helpful because sometimes it's tough and you just want to see familiar faces. So they were incredible growing up. They've been incredible my entire life. But Sarah's really been the person at least, since my time at BC and then through Atlanta, who has seen it all, right? Who I've come home every night, whether it was when I was playing or coming home from games, whatever it was, right? She saw you when you were beat up. She heard some of my honest opinions about what was going on and that I could only vent with at home and try and check it out, or get it out of my system before I'd leave, and try and be positive and upbeat when I would show there. But she's like the best sports psychologist on the planet, and knew exactly what to say and what not to say, and just how to navigate my career. I would not, for sure, not be the player I was without her. But more importantly, she's the most incredible mother and most incredible wife that you could ask for. And I wouldn't be the man that I am had I not been lucky enough to meet her when I was at Boston College. And so a massive, massive thank you to Sarah. And I got lucky.
Yes, you did.
I got very lucky.
I think it's only right to close out this show to have the rock of the Ryan family, the one who's been there from the start, to come up and join us on the stage. Y'all give a round of applause to Sarah Ryan.
Sit on the couch.
Can I get another?
Sit down. All right.
All right, guys.
Where do you want to sit? We also got Marshall and Johnny up here as well. How about a round of applause for Marshall and Johnny? Yeah.
Sarah, I'm going to start with you because I tell people all the time, beside every successful man is a wonderful woman. And you have been everything and more to that for Matt Ryan. And knowing that you get to see everything that he goes through on a daily basis when he was playing on this journey, you know, there are going to be nights like he mentioned, he's bruised up. I want you to talk about Matt, not just the football player, but also the man at home as a husband and a father.
Yeah, well, I think Matt was kind of born to be two things in his life. One, the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, and the other, a dad. So I feel so lucky to have found someone so early in my life that I knew was going to be a great partner and a great father. And now having these three boys, I think Matt said earlier, boys see better than they hear. And I feel very lucky as a mom and a wife that for these three boys, I can just watch your dad. You know, I have the best example of how I want to raise these boys to be young men and adults, and I'm super thankful for Matt every day for that.
Now, let me also say this, y'all, and Sarah's going to be modest, but this is the best athlete in the family.
No doubt.
So y'all give her a round of applause.
Yes.
Matt, I want to ask you this because, you know, being able to have someone to talk to at home, your best friend, to confide in, to talk to about any and everything, and you see her on a daily basis, how thankful are you to have Sarah Ryan in your life?
Oh my God, I mean, so thankful. And it's like you said, it's even for just like the little stuff, you know what I mean? Of you know, I can't even think offhand of like small little examples, but just the daily things that she just takes care of. She allows our family to operate the way that it does because she's such a great mom and so organized and knows I'm a disorganized mess,
Correct.
basically. Yes. And so there's a good yin and yang to our life, but just incredibly thoughtful. She's been organizing family coming in for this week. I've basically done nothing, so all credit to her for getting everybody organized, but it's the best to have somebody that you know is there for you no matter what you're going through, and I hope I can be that in return.
Sarah, last words that you have for your husband, who's been fantastic across the board as we close this night up.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to encapsulate what your career has meant to all these people here, our family, your parents. It's been the most incredible ride. I just feel so lucky to have been by your side through all of it. You've given us such highs and such incredible memories, and congratulations. This is so well deserved. I'm so proud of you, and Thursday's going to be awesome, and let's go beat the Bucks.
So I would like for everyone to stand up. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I also want to thank Truist. We now have our newest member of the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor. And on his way out, let's give him the loudest round of applause that we can give him tonight.